What's up, my good people? Welcome to the CJ Moneyway Show. Today, I have special guest who's an author, spiritual consultant, and former chaplain. Welcome to the Moneyway Show, Catherine Duncan. How you doing, Catherine?
I am good. Great to meet you today.
You too. Glad that you came on the show today. Really ready to hear about your journey on some of the things that you have done in life. So before we start, let's talk about your book, Everyday Awakening.
Yep, my book, Everyday Awakening. Here it is. It was published last summer, last July, and I'll say it was a calling. I 10 years prior had a vision that I'd be writing a book, and in fact even told then my teenage children and husband that I'd be writing a book, and they thought, great, mom. But it was the beginning of the pandemic, having some more time. My private practice all went online, but at night I would sit down and it just started pouring through me. I just writing this book. So it's called Everyday Awakening, 5 practices for living fully, feeling deeply, and coming into your heart and soul. And it comes out of 3 life-changing experiences I've lived through. I've faced my death twice. My husband, who's now doing well, but 8 years ago had a really traumatic, critical health incident. And then years of being a chaplain and being with people in crisis and to life. And what did I learn and what it means to be alive right now? And that's what my book is about.
Oh, okay. So you say you started it 3 years ago? You started writing during the pandemic?
Yeah, in 2020, I just was writing night after night after week after week after week. And the whole book just poured through me.
Yeah. So, cause a lot of times when you get into that writing phase, and like you say, when it's there, you just started. Cause I published a book in 2015, and it took me. I think I held on to that book. I was writing on that for like 15 years, since beginning of 2000, and it was amazing how I was able to keep the notes and the things that I had, the notebooks and the concept. So writing a book is intriguing, you know, the concept, the thoughts that you get, and so being a chaplain. So how was, from going from corporate to America to being a chaplain? How was that experience?
It was a bit topsy-turvy. It was a bit of an upheaval. I would tell everyone listening, be careful what you pray for, because facing, very grave illness as a child. That's when my faith started, and like asking the universe, who do you want me to be? And I was with Time Magazine for a number of years, really fun, glamorous, very fun. But then was really feeling a nudging inside, like, this isn't it. Like, this isn't where I'm being called. And I thought that I'd be a manager for Time Warner in Chicago, New York City. And they even gave me the job. And I couldn't say the words yes. They just wouldn't come out of my mouth. And anyway, that was kind of the end of that career after that experience. But I had the courage to leave, and it was clear to me that I needed to listen deeply, listen to where I was being called. I stepped off the path of a fast track corporate career that was fun, intense with Time Magazine. And not long after, it just came to me to study theology. I mean, I'd been voraciously reading books on life and meaning and purpose since a teenager, and a girlfriend out of nowhere, like, ever thought of studying theology? And like, never thought of it. And when I looked into the graduate theology programs, my body started shaking, like quivering, like it was just a knowing. And then I started graduate school. My family, my husband and children were so supportive. My father, then, he's been gone for years, an entrepreneur. I vividly remember him yelling at me, like yelling, why would I leave Time Magazine to study? And he said, geology. And I'm like, no, it's theology.
So I put the TH, not the GO.
Yeah, and that was even worse. I mean, not that he wasn't had a faith, but he was just like, "What? Like, what are you doing with your life?" It went outside the paradigm of what life was in our family system. And anyway, once I started graduate theology school, I was guided every step to this path I'm at today, and it was about listening inward.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. So, excuse me, tell us how gratifying it is to have your own private practice and to be counseling others to find more within themselves.
Yeah, for years after I got out of, having getting a master's in theology, divinity, I'm an ordained minister. I did work as a chaplain. I worked as a chaplain with our level 1 trauma hospital, Hennepin County Medical Center, and then a hospice chaplain with Fairview Hospice. Rich work. It was incredible. I felt so called to that work. But then again, at the very end, last year of my hospice chaplaincy work, I was again starting to feel like I'm ready to work in a bigger, broader scale, not just, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, as a hospice chaplain, you're with someone dying every day. It's very intensive, sacred work, and that's a calling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the nudging to, maybe I should start my own private practice. And I did, and grateful to connect with a few different, I work with a medical doctor who does really lovely integrative medicine work. His name's Dr. Greg Plotnikoff. And my private practice just took off. And it's in my work with people. I do a lot of work one-on-one. I do a lot of speaking, and then my book launch, but it's helping people really heal physically, emotionally, spiritually. How do you find that deep sense of well-being and healing within? And that's the work I do.
Okay, so like you say, you take this, you travel, you speak around, and you do seminars and things of that nature. So, how is the feeling? Because I've never been, one on stage to speak in front of people, a vast variety of people, and give my thoughts on certain things. And so, like the first time you went and did a speech in your field, how was that feeling?
Well, of course, I was a little nervous. I was nervous. I'll tell you, the first time going on a live podcast, I was like, ugh. So, the first time doing Facebook Live, I was like, it's just, but I'll tell you, there's been a lot of firsts since I especially even launched my book. But, one thing that's really helped me so much is that the work I'm doing, I realize it's not about me. It's
Hmm.
about, if I can help one person, that's all that matters. I remember when I was on our local TV station, I've been on TV now a couple times here with my book launch, and the first time I was up over half the night. I was like, like it's kind of like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm live in studio, their morning show. But it came to me. It's not about Catherine. It's not about me. If I can help someone, that's why I'm doing this. It's to help. Can I share some wisdom? And then I was like, everything's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, as far as speaking, I have spoken in church and things of that nature. So I'm not, really shy of speaking, but it's like when you do go speak in front of some people that you don't know, or what,
Mhm.
it's just the anxiety of it. Like, am I gonna say the right things? Am I gonna forget what I put down? And a lot of times, and I know probably you speaking in various places. A lot of times, some of the things you wrote down, and you try not to look at it while you said it, you just go a whole nother direction because you can't get back to that point. And so now you start freestyling. And so I've learned to basically just memorize what I'm gonna say, and as you said, from the heart. And because a lot of things, like you said, it's not about me or whatever; it's about helping others. And so I'm glad that we got people like yourself that's out there that put others before themselves, and we need more like you, Catherine. So,
Thank you. And I'd say, speaking a comment, this winter I had a really big talk with local media here. Her name's Kathy Werzer, delightful. And we went on stage, and there were a lot of people there, and I had no idea what she was going to ask me. I was like, here we go. And, the other thing that helped is right when we sat down, I'm like, okay, universe, take over. Angels, take over. Like, shoo. And I felt it. And I just asking for that guidance from beyond. That's it.
Yeah. The word does say when you get there, don't worry about what to say or what because he's going to give you the things to say and guide you through that. He wouldn't put you in that position if you wouldn't already prepared for it.
Yeah, and it works. Trust me, it works.
So you said that you had near-death experience. If you don't mind, would you mind sharing with us, like, what did you witness on the other side as I was reading something that you were talking about?
Yeah. So in my 30s, and interestingly, I was already starting to feel this nudging. It was the last few years I was with Time Magazine for 10 years, and I was starting to feel this nudging of like, even though I was glamorous and I was doing well and I was making lots of money and meeting lots of people, my heart was feeling restless. And this was a whitewater rafting trip in Costa Rica in early January of actually it was 2000. And I had trepidation even going on this trip and whitewater rafting. And, we had helmets, vests, everything. And the rapids were extremely high because of rain. So they were level 3, level 4 rapids. And we were on a boat, 8 people, and the head of our raft, if you can believe it, was the head of the Costa Rica rafting, like, Olympic team. He was crazy. And so instead of going around the rapid, the other boats were going around. Yeah. We were going straight down the middle, and I was in the back corner, and I just didn't have the weight to hold on when we hit these rapids. And next thing you know, I was deep underwater, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to die. I mean, from my childhood, I'm now going to die. And this white light came around my whole body. And this voice, crystal clear to this day, said, living or dying is fine. And this peace just came through my body, just like whatever was going to happen, I was going to be okay. And it gave me the courage. I just let go. I just surrendered. And next thing you know, I think because I surrendered, my body kind of uncurled and came out. Next thing you know, I was pulled by my life vest onto a boat, and I couldn't speak. I was just in shock. And I had to keep going down the rapids because we were in such a remote area of Costa Rica. And I survived. Interestingly, 2 days later, flying back to Minneapolis, and was in a taxi coming to my home. And I called my mother, very religious. And I told I'm home, Mom. I was telling her, and out of nowhere, she had never in life, she doesn't share dreams. That's not my mom. But she said, Catherine, I dreamed I slipped into a river and I almost drowned. And then she woke up, and it was the exact day that this happened.
Wow.
And it was just, for me, it was a turning point. Within a matter of weeks, I gave my notice. I already was going to make a stellar year in 2000. I gave my notice. I thought, you know what? How am I going to listen to where I'm being called? I need space. And luckily my husband was supportive, and they were shocked that, here I was one of their top salespeople leaving, but you know what? It opened the space to deeply meditate, pray, listen. I did some consulting work to then hear about the guidance. I was being guided to go back to graduate school.
Oh man,